It's no secret that in recent years, the MCU has been obsessed with the variants of their heroes. The Loki show, for example.
Even with everything we've seen already, there are still so many cool Marvel variants out there waiting for their time to shine.
Let's check them out! Oh.
With the release of Spider-Man Spider-Verse films, pretty much every Marvel fan knows that there are thousands of Spider-Man out there right now. One variant in particular that I found quite interesting: when Avengers Endgame came out, everybody was debating who could have snapped instead of Tony and survived. Turns out, maybe Spider-Man. In 2023's Spider-Man Unlimited Infinity Comic 8, we see an evil Spider-Man variant with Loki's horns and the Infinity Gauntlet. He is evil because he's trying to attack 616 Spider-Man and Friend, who is actually another Spider-Man variant. These two spiders are racing across the multiverse to find the Spot, who supposedly died, which is weird because he's not supposed to do that, OMG. It's unclear if the Spider-Man Infinity Gauntlet variant is a Peter Parker who raided Loki's closet, or is a Loki Parker. Either way, it's pretty cool to learn that one Peter doesn't just know his way around a web shooter, but also one of the most powerful Marvel weapons ever.
Next up, the Destroyer armor is something that I always forget exists. It only appears every now and then, but it's usually a huge deal when it does. I'm so used to it only appearing in Asgardian related stories, so needless to say, when it showed up being retrofitted for an alternate reality version of the Black Panther villain Killmonger in Avengers Forever as part of the multiversal Masters of Evil, I was more than happy to be taken by surprise. We get a better picture of Killmonger the Destroyer's story in issue 6 of Avengers Forever. When T'Challa was still just a wee little baby, this version of Killmonger destroyed Wakanda, single-handedly putting the Wakandan gods under his thumb and turning the country's warriors to ash. Killmonger was traveling the multiverse from Earth to Earth, Wakanda to Wakanda, destroying every version of T'Challa that he could, except for the one that would escape to become the Sky Spider, the Vibranium Man, and eventually the Star Panther. King Killmonger would travel on his ship alongside his War Panther mercenaries, using his Destroyer armor to level entire cities and even entire planets.
There was this one really bad time when Ultron conquered the Earth in the year 2420. We're not there yet, but soon, so please be prepared. You have to watch out for a particular virus. Sorry if I'm giving you flashbacks, but this virus is Loki. See, when Ultron conquered the Earth, he needed control of Thor, so Ultron created a sentient nanovirus that Loki was the model for. It worked, and the Loki virus infected Thor and had no plans of leaving until it was evicted by 2 other Thors. Dr. Doom has entered the picture and brought a bunch of heroes from across the universes and timelines and time periods to defeat Ultron. 2 of these heroes were past Thors. They put a bunch of lightning in the infected Thor, expelling the Loki virus. Thor, now having control over himself, destroyed the virus. These events happened in New Avengers Ultron Forever 1 from 2015 if you want to check it out.
Next up is a version of Black Widow that joined up with the Fantastic Four. Sort of. Coming to us in What If Fantastic Four #1 in December of 2005, taking place on Earth 717 in 1951, the Soviet Union sent its first manned mission to space. On this mission was Natalia Romanova, one of 4 scientists and astronauts involved in the mission. It just so happens that all 4 of them were bathed in cosmic radiation, and they all just so happened to gain superpowers. It sounds a lot like the normal Fantastic Four, but this group actually differed quite a bit. In her particular case, Natalia gained the ability to manipulate electromagnetic energy, allowing her to fly by reversing the polarity of her body, but also making her able to discharge her energy in lethal doses. These 4 became the ultimate Federalist freedom fighters, or if you prefer, you can just call them the Soviet Fantastic Four. I'll also accept that. With the US and what became Russia disputing over control of Cuba, the freedom fighters were tasked with facing the Avengers. Thankfully, Rudy and Richards chose to abort the mission when a teammate got wounded. Richards then confronted his superiors in the KGB, and they were not too happy. Getting tired of his heroic talkbacky ways, the leaders ordered Natalia to terminate Richards, but she instead chose to turn on them instead, bringing them all to the afterlife. Following the incident, the super agents took control of the Union and pursued the ideas of freedom and equality. So it all turned up roses.
Ice Hulk made his debut in X-Men Battle of the Atom 1 in 2013. He looks like a mix of the Thing and the Hulk, but he's actually a mashup of Iceman and the Hulk, if you couldn't already guess from his name. He was created out of the extra power from future Iceman. Ice Hulk has the strength of the Hulk and the ice-creating abilities of Iceman, of course. Charles Xavier too, this one is evil, traveled back in time to defeat the X-Men with a bunch of heroes he had mind-controlled, Ice Hulk being one of them. During the battle, Charles Charles II loses control of all the heroes he brought, and then is defeated by them and the X-Men. When that's taken care of, Ice Hulk and friends head back to the future.
For this next variant, we're traveling all the way to Warp World. To really oversimplify it and cut out a lot of the details, there was a time known as Infinity Wars where Gamora, wielding the Infinity Gauntlet, folded reality in half, merging souls together and creating a new reality known as Warp World. Now, this story isn't particularly a favorite among fans, but I do have to say, some really cool characters came from this, including Laura Kinney as Weapon Hex. This character is an amalgamation of X-23, Laura Kinney, and the Scarlet Witch. In this world, she was the evolutionary's 22nd attempt to create a vessel for the dark eldritch demon Mephistophone, who is a combo of Mephisto and Chthon, and who has an absolutely evil name that I hate with every inch of my soul. Sarah Kinney was impregnated with a mutant girl, combining the evolutionary's best enchantments and enhancements. She had a regenerative healing factor, retractable bone claws, chaos magic, including Scarlet Witch's hexes and magical abilities, plus necromancy. She was pretty crazy powerful and super cool, and she was a part of Warp World's Defenders. Warp World. It's hard to say.
Ever since discovering the character of Sleepwalker, he has become one of my favorite heroes, and I'm a cat person, so Sleepwalker Kitty Pride is like god tier for me right now. Sleepwalker Kitty does not get a lot of time on panels. She is only shown like once or twice, but she came, she saw, she served. This is a variant example that is shown when the base character gets their head messed with and they see themselves in another timeline. So unfortunately, we never get to see Sleepwalker Kitty in action, just kind of a glimpse. The Sleepwalkers are a race of alien from the 616 universe. They are basically dream police, and they are good guys. I know they look like bad guys, but that is not the case. They fight and hopefully capture any being that invades human dreams. If they are attached to a human host, they can fight crime in the physical world too, but only while their host is sleeping. Sleepwalkers have something called warp gaze. That means they can distort the shape of physical objects, plus they are super strong and durable and have enhanced vision. We know that Kitty's main thing is phasing and intangibility, so pair that with the Sleepwalker stuff, that's a pretty cool hero. Hopefully we'll see her again soon.
Got a question for you. What's better than a giant meal? A giant meal that regrows as soon as you finish eating it. That was exactly the mentality behind Sideburns, the regenerating planet. During Galacta, Daughter of Galactus, issue number 1, the daughter of the world-eating cosmic entity is looking for a new meal. As she is perusing her options, she comes across Wolverine and his regenerative healing factor, and she formulates an idea. Using a bit of his harvested DNA with a bit of celestial power, she could create a new living planet, one that she could feast on and then leave to regenerate. An infinite meal for those who enjoy munching on celestial bodies. Like planets, not like actual celestials. Unfortunately, we only get a very brief glimpse of this idea as Galacta realizes that a planet made up of an angry Canadian mutant DNA like Wolverine's would be pretty highly unstable, and she decides to shelve that idea for another day.
With the upcoming film Deadpool and Wolverine, a Deadpool variant just had to make this list. My favorite one, Gwenpool. I've said it before, I'll say it again, she is that girl. She was featured on a variant cover for Deadpool's Secret Wars #2, not in it, just on the cover. Fans loved her aesthetic though, and soon she was being cosplayed all over the place. Once Marvel caught wind of how much fans loved the character, they decided to give her a spotlight in the form of a one-shot and later some full series. Technically, she was first featured as the backup story on a Howard the Duck comic, but her first Gwenpool comic was Gwenpool Special 1, and then her series was The Unbelievable Gwenpool. After that was done, she had a limited series in 2019 called Gwenpool Strikes Back. Gwenpool is from the real world. She wasn't living her best life here, but her bright spot was Marvel Comics. Her and her brother figured out how to transport themselves into the Marvel Universe. When she gets there, she orders an all-pink costume from a super tailor and retcons the Marvel Universe into thinking she is a mutant. She has a lot of fun and looks great doing it. I understand why people cosplayed her so much. Gwen's obsession with comic books turns out to be her superpower. She uses her knowledge of comic tropes to avoid some catastrophes, even using her vast knowledge to figure out the weaknesses of those she's fighting. So she's keeping the Deadpool staple of breaking the fourth wall.
Okay, next up we got a variant of Venom, but bonded with a Ghost Rider. And while that shouldn't really actually make any sense, no one cares because it's cool. It's a comic book, okay? There are very limited amounts of rules. Now, this Ghost Rider is actually Robbie Reyes, who, if you don't know, is actually unique for a Ghost Rider, as he's actually powered by the spirit of his evil satanic uncle. But he still has all the same powers, except now he's the All Rider, so he can do like things like turn dead celestials and even entire planets into his vehicles. It doesn't matter. In this reality, appearing in Edge of Venomverse issue number 3, it seems the symbiote Venom has completely taken over Robbie's body somewhere along the line, creating this almost perfect chaotic parasitic being with both the Rider and the symbiote basically just using the body of Robbie Reyes. This guy is brutal. He dispatches SHIELD agents with ease, and he feeds Calvin Zabo of this universe to his car. His car eats people. What's up with that? It is cool though, and terrifying at the same time. This Ghost Rider also has an ability called the Penance Kiss, which is very much like the Penance Stare, only with his mouth. Determining people's guilt or innocence and then pretty much just consuming their soul literally. I can't help but imagine what his voice sounds like. Probably, I don't know actually. I can't imagine what it sounds like. They're brutal, they're ruthless, they look amazing, they don't make much sense because fire and symbiotes don't mix, but who cares? They are Ghost Rider.
That's all the time we got left.
Thank you guys so much for watching today on Top 10 Nerd. I'm Adam Andrews.
And I'm Juliana Duran. We will catch you nerds next time.
Peace out, nerds.